crowds have chanted anti-UK slogans and poured blood-red paint at placards showing countries bombed by Britain. The protests took place outside the British Embassy here in Moscow in response to a demonstration staged at Russia's embassy in London 2 days ago. RT correspondent Emily Sue reports.
From what we're seeing here, definitely about a group of 100 people, also some police presence here to ensure things don't go out of control. Everybody is holding signs both in Russian and in English, many of them saying England is war, Great Britain is war, pretty much just expressing their discontent with the protests held outside the Russian embassy in London. Instead of throwing mannequin limbs outside the embassy, they poured red paint on these signs here, and they're chanting slogans. Right here, as you can see behind me, there's a sign that says Great Britain is war, and they poured red paint over it.
Ирак до сих пор!
On Thursday, activists dumped several hundred mannequin limbs outside the gates of the Russian embassy, claiming they were symbolic of the carnage in Syria. Some of them also chained themselves to the entrance, preventing visitors and staff from entering that building. Now, Moscow has expressed a deep concern over the British government's failure to ensure security at the premises. RT has asked the UK Foreign Office to comment on the incident in London. This is their response.
We understand from the police that a small peaceful protest took place outside the Russian embassy. Diplomatic police were in place throughout, remaining in close contact with Russian embassy staff. No arrests were made.
The group behind that London protest is called the Syria Campaign. It claims to be impartial and non-political. However, it's funded from a Syrian-born British businessman with a clear anti-Assad agenda. Ayman Asfari believes that a real transition in Syria is only possible without the current president in power. The Syria Campaign also slammed the UN for cooperating with Bashar al-Assad's government to provide humanitarian aid to civilians. In a report this June, it blasted what it called prioritized cooperation with the Syrian government. Now, the movement also partners itself with the White Helmets, an aid group which has come under heavy scrutiny for its so-called work in Syria. The White Helmets are, well, they're also known as the Syrian Civil Defense. The movement mostly operates, though, in the militant-held areas in Syria. In videos posted online, people wearing the white helmets have been spotted at executions carried out by jihadists and waving terrorists' black flags with militants, sparking accusations of terror links. The group gets funding as well from Western countries like America, France and Britain. And analyst Adam Gary says White Helmet supporters who staged the protest at the Russian embassy in London should all be investigated.
There's clearly a political motivation behind this. I don't know what their connections are to people in Syria. Assad has various opponents. ISIS is one of them. Al-Qaeda is the other. There are many other sub-terrorist groups who all have the same ideology and fly interchangeable flags on various days of the week, depending on what they feel like calling themselves. I think these people need to be investigated. Are they a front for a terrorist group? We need to know. The public deserve to know. The security services deserve to know.
Well, militant groups have continued fighting government forces in the Syrian city of Aleppo. The major anti-Assad offensive has now entered its second week, and rebels have shelled humanitarian corridors set up by Russia and Syria on Friday to allow civilians and even militants to leave parts of the city. 2 Russian and 2 Syrian military observers were injured in the latest attacks.
We contacted some citizens living in these blocked areas. They said the militants are preventing them from leaving and are closing in on the humanitarian corridors.
We were on the Castello Road. Soldiers, medical crews, vehicles and civilians, including children, all came under fire and were forced to temporarily pull back. But we're continuing to ensure that everyone who wants to can get out of the besieged areas and the areas controlled by the terrorists.